Hi everyone. In this video I'm going to walk you through one of the more challenging parts of creating videos inside EdPuzzle, and that's going to be editing videos and adding your own questions and comments and annotations to the videos. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and leave them in the comments below, and if you have a minute, we'd sure appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe to the channel. It supports all the work we do. Thanks and enjoy the video. Awesome. Okay, no other questions? Great. Okay, so here we are. We're at My Content. Now, from the My Content tab, you can select any of the videos you've chosen. So let's take a look at this video. Now, you notice how I clicked the little box. Now there's some options down here. You can duplicate it. So let's say you have two different classes and maybe they're different levels of kids or whatever have you, and you want to add different questions. So you may want to add more challenging questions for one class or more open-ended questions or whatever. You would use a duplicate. You could duplicate it and then add questions to each one separately. There's a folder created here. So you can also click Move to Folder, and you can add that to a folder. And I'll show you how to create folders in a minute. That's going to be in the Add Content over here. When we get there, we'll get there. So let me go back and click it again. Then there is the unselect to uncheck it. You can delete it from your content, and then you can assign it to your kids. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Edit button because it's not ready to assign to my kids. Okay. Now, okay. So here is the video that I decided that I want to show to my kids. I want to add some questions throughout it, and maybe I want to take a little bit off of it. So let's go ahead and watch it for a second. Now, can somebody tell me if they can hear the video in the background? Can you hear the video in the background? No. How about now? Very low? Okay. Okay, I'll turn it up when the time comes then. Okay. So this is what's called the storyline. Okay, this is basically a video from start to finish. Now, we're going to move our way over from left to right up here at the top. Think about this as, okay, it puts your video in front of you, and then it gives you three optional ways to edit and add questions and your own commentaries to your videos. So we're going to start with the cut first. Now, as you saw at the beginning of the video, there's an intro. I'm going to pause it when the intro is done. So let's say I don't want my kids to see that intro. It's not that it's bad, it's just it's useless to me for my purposes. I don't want my kids to bother having to look at that. So this is the scrubber. I think I mentioned that. I paused it at the place where I want to delete everything before it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click Cut, Add Cut. Now, if you saw what happened there, it created another little piece of video next to that one. Nothing's happened yet. I can go there and click play and nothing's changed. But if I go ahead and click on it and drag this back, I can delete that whole first section. If you saw what I did there, I cut right there and I dragged it to the left. Alternatively, I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to undo it again and start back at the beginning. I can also take that and I can drag it from left to right to the first 10 or 15 seconds. But you have to note and watch the video up at the screen up at the top to see about where it starts and play with it. I'm very gently going from side to side looking for the spot. So sometimes it's a little easier just to pause it when you get there as you're watching through the video. Right about there. And you can see I didn't bother having to drag back to delete. As soon as I slide that one from the left to the right, it automatically deletes it as I'm going. So I can delete, now it's going to delete all the way up to there and back. So I'm going to take off that first couple of seconds. Okay. Now I can do the same over at the end. Let's say there's, I'm going to go ahead and take my scrubber and I'm going to drag it down to the end over here. And up there's an exit. They call it an outro. I don't want my kids to bother looking at the outro. So right there, the big guy stops. I know that the outro is going to start right there. I'm just going to go ahead and take the end of it and drag it to about there and so forth. Okay. Now, when I put it there, I'll play it. Watch what happens. And that's the end of the video. So I can also go back a little bit if I want to play with it a little bit. So yeah, I think it's a little piece. I want to get that little piece out of there. And let's try it again. And click play. And that's it. No outro. So that's how I trim the beginning and the end. Now let's say there's 10 seconds in the middle of the video. So I'm going to slide my scrubber down to here. And let's say I want to cut out from 1 minute and you notice that's the 1 minute mark in the video. And I want to cut out about 10 seconds of in the middle. I'm going to click add a cut. And that's when it kind of puts a cut in the middle. Now from here, I can go 10 seconds to the left, 15 seconds to the left, or I can grab the other one and go to the right to get rid of that little piece. I'm going to go ahead and drag this little piece over to the right to about 1 minute and 10 seconds. If you're looking at the timer on the left there while you're looking at me dragging it, I went right to 110 and I stopped. So where the cut was 1 minute, where I stopped was 110. I went ahead and I cut that 10 seconds out of the video. You might want to use that for various reasons. You could do a voiceover there. You could think that that content may be of no use to you. It could not be appropriate for your kids, which, let me digress for a second. Make sure you're watching every single video completely and always thinking about privacy, what's appropriate for kids and so forth. It's a wonderful tool. You don't want to get it taken away from you. Okay, so that's how I cut a video. Does anybody have any questions on cutting the video? Any questions on cutting? Are we okay? I don't see any. Terrific. Okay, so now let's go on. Like if you recall, I said we're going to move from left to right. So what I've done is I've cut a little bit off the front that I didn't have any use for. I've cut a little bit off the back I didn't have any use for. And now I'm going to go ahead and when I cut a little bit out of the middle, 10 seconds that I felt wasn't any use to me. And now I'm going to go over to voiceover. Now, understanding what this is a little bit, I don't use voiceover very much, but I'm a math teacher. So the videos that I generally put on EdPuzzle are videos that I've created myself. So why would I put voiceover on my own voice? But a lot of times you'll have videos that you'll want to pick for your kids. Let's say it's a National Geographic video and maybe there's no sound. I'm good at creating scenarios. Let's pretend it's a cheetah walking through the jungle. Cheetahs in jungles? Yeah, it's a cheetah walking through the jungle and there's no sound and you want to basically voice over so your kids can hear your voice in that little place. So you can tell them to look for things or tell them to think about things or point out things to them. You can put in a voiceover. So let's say I don't like what Ben-Har has to say. I like everything Ben-Har has to say, but let's just say I don't. I say, okay, I want to talk over him right here, right where I put my scrubber at 25 seconds. So you put your scrubber where you want to start talking. You come up to here. Now, when I click start recording, it's going to record my voice. Don't be tense about it because if you don't like it, you can delete it. And all it's doing is it's laying your voice on top of the video. It removes the video sound. So you're not going to hear both voices, Ben-Har's and myself. You're just going to hear my voice. But if you delete it, you're not going to lose the speaker's voice, the original sound from the video. So you can add it and not worry about losing that sound from the video. So I'm going to click start record. And I'm looking and Ben-Har is pointing at Finland, the USA. Now he's pointing down there at Thailand, and he's talking about the TIMSS studies of 2015. Make sure you take notes on these. And I'm going to click stop recording. Now watch it turn bright yellow. Now, what it was doing for that brief second after I clicked stop was it was processing the audio file. And you need to get used to that processing pause. The longer or larger the file is, the longer you're going to have to wait for it to process, whether it's audio or video. And I tell you that just because I don't want you to get alarmed if you go ahead and you take a 5-minute video that you've created and it says processing or it pauses for some reason, you see just the spinning cursor. That's normal. Videos take a while to process, and the longer the video or the audio file is, the longer it's going to take. And so I've got my audio file there. I'm going to come here. I'm going to crank up the volume so people can hear it. I'm going to turn my microphone. It's actually a typical. And I'm looking, and Ben Hart is pointing at Finland, the USA. Now he's pointing down there at Thailand. He's talking about the TIMSS studies of 2015. Make sure you take notes on these. And I'm going to click stop. Because they do the study once every 3. Okay, and that's what it does. It just records right over, and you can do as many as you want throughout the video. You can do another one here. You can record over the entire video if you'd like. It's not a problem. So again, it goes from pale yellow to bright yellow, and then it's done. Now, once it does these voiceovers, it's going to list them on the right-hand side while you're on this screen. So take a second and look at the right-hand side of the screen to the right of the video. You'll see all of the voiceovers that are here. That's because I'm on the voiceover screen. If I look over to the left, that's like the master screen. That's all the changes that you've made except for cuts. So when we add questions and notes, you'll see those added on top of here as well. So here is the master screen. And here is the screen that you're currently on, what you've done. And you can go ahead and delete them if you like. So let's say I didn't like that one, I could delete it and keep an eye here. When I hit delete, you'll see it go away. And there it goes. Okay. Any questions on voiceovers? I think you're good. Okay. All right, so that's voiceovers. So now let's go ahead and move on over to the what is my favorite part of EdPuzzle is being able to add questions, multiple choice, open-ended, as well as notes. I'm not much of a note person, but if I want to make an addition to a video I've created, I'll use them, and I'll certainly use them more than I do voiceovers because they don't interrupt the video. It just pauses. It stops the video and it forces the child to read the note, and then they click continue and they go on, which you're going to see in a second. So let's go down the list over here on the right. Let me put in a multiple choice question. Let's say right about there. Looks like he's pointing to the USA. So let's say I want to put a question here, and I type the question. What country is he pointing at? And the first box has a green check mark. That's where you're going to type your correct answer. And then you can go ahead and add as many wrong answers as you'd like. And you click on the plus sign underneath, and you can click another one. I don't even know. Let's see. Okay, so I added typical multiple choice. I added 3 incorrect answers. And now I'm going to go ahead and click save. Okay, so you didn't see the way that looks. So I'm going to back it up a little bit first. I'm going to move. Also available. And that's what it's going to look like for your kids. It's going to stop the video. They're going to have to select an answer. And once they do, they click continue and they're good. Okay, so I'm going to click continue. And you'll see the same profile. Okay, so multiple choice questions. There is a grade book in this in EdPuzzle. Multiple choice questions are graded automatically, which is kind of neat, and it gives you some data to look at for your class and see how they did. So it's kind of a handy thing. It also tells you if the child actually watched the video. So we'll get to all that in a minute, but that's one of the main reasons why I started using EdPuzzle, because I wanted to ask questions. I wanted to see who was watching, who wasn't. It's just assigning YouTube videos to kids didn't cut it for me. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do the next question type, the open-ended question. So I'm going to go ahead and slide my scrubber over here. And I'll slide it a little bit more. And I'll leave it right about there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click open-ended question. So let's put a question in there. What do you think about the results of the United States? So that's an open-ended question. I can just go ahead and click save. Now, it didn't show, it's not going to show you the box here. I can show you that if we have time, but it's not that big of a deal. I'll probably just skip it. But what happens here is it gives you the question like what you're looking at, but then it gives you a typical text entry box. It's about the same size as the question box, and the kids can just type in it and click submit and continue. And you have to grade that. And the default is 100 points, so you can give it a grade out of 100. And that's about that, open-ended questions. And now one feature, the only feature left is notes. I'll go a bit further. And let's say I want to put in a note. Teachers love notes because it's at the point where it forces kids to stop, and you can put in little prompts and things to think about. So you can, for instance, you could say, you could put a note in there to stop and think about what he just did in some way. So I'm going to put a note in here. So add your thoughts to your journals. And I'm going to click save. So, and that's what you'll get. That's what the kid will see on the right-hand side. They'll see, add your thoughts to your journals. They'll hopefully do that, and then they'll click continue. And there's no limit to the amount of questions, notes, open-ended or multiple choice that you can put on a video. You can put as many as you like. Now, before I go on and click finish, are there any questions on adding questions or notes? Any questions on adding questions or notes? Perfect. Okay. All righty. Okay. So now I'm going to click finish because let's think about it. I went ahead and I looked at my video and I cut out the pieces that I didn't want. Then I went and I added a voiceover. Then I went and I added some questions and some notes. And everything is here on the left-hand side like we discussed. The multiple choice question I added, the open-ended question I added, and the thoughts that I added. So I'm going to go ahead and show you, well, before I go on, let me show you. You can also click right on these and it'll take you right to that part of the video if you want to edit it. So I'm going to click on the multiple choice question. I can go there, I can click edit or delete, and I can edit this question. And I can go right to the note and edit it if I'd like, and so on. So you can click on whatever you've done and go ahead and edit it. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on finish. Okay, now there's my project. There's my lesson. I'm all set to assign it to my students. I've edited it out. I've added my voiceover. I've gone ahead and I've asked my questions. I'm good to go. Okay, so let's go back to the My Content tab.